Welcome back. We're talking suicide with our special guests. First up, Dr. Helen Clark, who's a child and adolescent psychiatrist, Nkini Phasha, board member at SARAC, and we're now joined by Nicole Immerman. Nicole is the counseling services manager at Lifeline. Welcome to Health Talk, Nicole.
Hi, thank you.
All right. Before we start our discussion, let's take Anonymous on the line from Kempton Park. Anonymous, welcome.
Hello?
Yes, Anonymous, go for it.
Hi, yes. I'm phoning from Kenton Park and I'm busy watching your show.
Yes.
And, I have tried to do this before, so it's not a first. But I'm currently at a point in my life where I really and truly can't take it anymore. You know what, I just think it's the easiest way out.
Okay, Anonymous, obviously this is a disturbing call, but I'd like you to please just stay tuned, because at some point we're going to give out some numbers, because I really think that you need some help. You need to talk to someone.
I don't think you know how serious this is.
Yeah.
I'm sitting with 60 tablets in my hand that I'm going to just drink with a glass of water, and what must be must be. I just had enough. I can't take it.
Yeah. If I could just appeal to you to please just hold on. You just need to speak to somebody. There's no problem that's insurmountable. So we're going to give out some numbers, and perhaps let's hear from our guests here.
I would urge you, Anonymous, to please, suicide, it really is not a solution. If maybe one of our producers can get their number and immediately get someone from our office,
right,
the South African Depression and Anxiety Group,
right,
to engage with her immediately,
right,
because that is not a solution at
okay,
all. There are alternatives. We will be able to really hold your hand and help you through this, what seemingly to you might be the end of the road, but really it's not. Suicide, it's not the solution.
Right.
So if maybe we can get,
right,
our producers to get in touch.
I think our producers will try and speak to him and get. Obviously, he needs some sort of help urgently.
Urgently, and we cannot rely. Chances are that if we leave it up to her to call, that's not going to happen. Because she is at that point,
right,
just right on the edge,
right,
of taking away her life.
All right. All right. And for anybody else who's watching, obviously the numbers are on the screen. If you need to speak to someone, please dial those numbers that are on your screen right now. Let's continue our discussion and speak to Nicole. Nicole, I've had a long chat with these two guests here, and let's give you some chance to perhaps let's start with looking at the impact. In my introduction I said that, those that succeed and those that don't succeed leave behind some huge impact, firstly on themselves, if they survive, of course, and of course, and to those around them. Your comments on that?
I think in terms of speaking about impact, the call that we just received, when somebody is in a place of suicide, the impact of that is that feeling of that desperation that you were talking about, of feeling that there's no hope, that I'm in this deep dark hole and that this is my only way out. So I think the one impact of suicide and thoughts around suicide would be that feeling of this is my only option. And as you were saying, in that moment, that's all that there is, and not realizing that there may be that sense of hope. So that would definitely be one of the major impacts of feeling like you're in this deep dark hole and you being swallowed. In terms of attempting a suicide and then discovering that you haven't succeeded, people can feel many things. Some people report that they sometimes feel a sense of relief, that their life changed, that they were in this dark place, and now it's almost like an opportunity to look at things differently, to be able to reach out, and it's a time where people know what they're going through. So that could be one of the impacts. Sometimes people feel incredibly angry. They feel like, I wanted to kill myself and I haven't succeeded. And what we do find is sometimes they will report saying, well, I can't even get this right, because there's a sense of I can't do anything right. There's a sense of I'm not good enough.
Right. Okay. Let's take another Anonymous on the line from Johannesburg this time. Anonymous, welcome.
Welcome, sir. How are you?
We're good. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. My concern is about promises. I'm from military veteran.
Yes.
Now, we've got promises like our benefits are housing, health care, But we don't get those things. Yesterday I was in the public protector's office, still there. I didn't get help because presently I don't have place to stay, and I fought for this country. So I need help before I take my gun and kill myself. And I've got 4 children and 2 grandchildren. I love those children. Please, I need help.
Okay. Anonymous, we've heard you. Like with the previous caller, we're going to try and get your numbers and try and get someone to speak to you immediately.
And you know the scary part with this call as well, it brings another dimension, is that of family suicides. You know, where as the head of the family, not only do you feel or do you decide to take away your life, but also you take away, you know, you wipe out your family. Because as men, there is this, you know, masculinity gold standard that if I'm not around, nobody can take care of my family. So it is my responsibility. I wipe them out and then turn the gun on myself. And we are seeing more and more of those cases as well being reported.
And it's really unfair on the children.
It is unfair, you know, on the children. It is unfair because, I mean, they still have their whole future, you know. But just also going back to the impact, I think if you look at the increase in statistics, you know, in our young children, it means that in a number of years, you know, to come, we're not going to have future leaders. You know, if we are seeing this increasing trend in young people that decide to take away their lives, they're cutting their lives short. It's impacting obviously on the growth and, you know, sustainability of our country. And you know, I think that as well is a huge impact, you know, if one looks at it from a societal you know, perspective.
Dr. Clark, I mean, in your interaction with these young ones and adolescents who would have attempted suicide, the impact on the family surrounding, you know, the family behind these. Your comments?
I think one has to look at it from 2 perspectives. First of all, the adolescent that attempts suicide. It's very clear that in many cases, having a child that attempts suicide, it is the most frightening experience that a parent can go through. Very often there's no awareness that there's a problem. There's no insight into the fact that the adolescent is having any problems. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, there's this attempt on their lives. They are frightened. They're frightened to let the adolescent out of their sight. They no longer trust the adolescent. And a lot of the journey thereafter is building trust again. And that can be a very long journey. I think it's important also for adolescents to understand the impact of a completed suicide on a family, because it is a momentary act often by an adolescent, but it's a life experience for a family. It is something that a family will never be able to resolve. It's often something that it's never possible to totally understand. You will never understand why this action has occurred. It is something that you will never be able to totally process. There is a gap that you will never be able to fill. And it is something that will just carry on and on being. And I think one should never underestimate the impact on the family. And this is something that I think we work on with our adolescents who have attempted suicide, is discussing this kind of thing with them and the responsibility they take in working on issues related to suicidality.
You can imagine as a parent also that sense of failure. You know, you feel that you have failed your child. You feel that you are not a good parent. You feel that, you know, so there's guilt. So really it also starts, you know, in terms of just the emotional and psychological well-being, you know, of the parents and those that are around, you know, that young person or even another family member that have decided to take away their lives.
All right, let's go for a quick break. We'll come back and perhaps just focus on understanding the risk factors. You know, what is it that drives people to that point where they want to take their own lives? Please stay with us.
HIV is something that lives inside your blood. it doesn't define who you are.
Many South Africans living with HIV are taking control of their futures and in so doing are living their best lives.
I want to build my family very happy house, and even I'm not here, it's fine. I know I leave them with